We are the first link in virtually every supply chain there is. And there's a lot of folks out there that just don't know it. There is a segment of the population that certainly doesn't know what we do or has a preconceived notion of what we do, but they are also participating in the mass consumption of the products that we produce, and nobody seems to be slowing that down.
I'm Tyler Simmons. Welcome to In the Yard, a Western States podcast, where we dig into the heavy equipment industry, from the machines that move mountains to the people who put them to work. Let's explore how the world of yellow iron builds our communities for a better tomorrow. So, Ben, give me a quick introduction and tell me a little bit about the Idaho Mining Association.
Yeah, well, thanks, Tyler, for having me on. Ben Davenport. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Idaho Mining Association. Been there about 9 years, actually. Just discussing how last time I was in this building, I was interviewing for the job I had across the hallway here. So good to be back. The building looks great. Been at the Idaho Mining Association 9 years. We're the industry advocates for the mining industry here in Idaho. When I took over, we were primarily an operators group. Had about 5 or 6 operators and very few vendor types. But since I've been on board, we've kind of opened up membership to the exploration class, the development class, and the vendor class. So now we're about 130 members strong, 6 operators, a couple of permitted mines. Hopefully they'll come on board here in a bit, but they're out there on the horizon. And then we got 5 or 6 in the late stage exploration and permitting cycle, and then another 15 or 20 members in different phases throughout exploration and development. So we are the industry rep. We hold ourselves out there as the guys that wear the white hat, right? We advocate for a responsible and sustainable mining industry here in the state, and we want to take care of the communities we operate in, and that's kind of who we are as an association.
Oh, that's cool. So how long has the Idaho Mining Association been around?
That's a good question. I mean, when I came on, not a lot of people knew who we were, but we've been here since 1903. So this is our 122nd year in existence, and we've had a lot of ups and downs, right? Mining is kind of a cyclical industry. When commodity prices are good, a lot of people come in and they have interest, and then as commodity prices fluctuate, sometimes we can see consolidation or mines go into care and maintenance until the price is right again, and it makes sense to have feasible projects. So been around for 120 years, and right now is as good a time to be involved as any, I think. We're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on in mining in the state of Idaho right now. There's from being on the cat side of it, right, we get to see the side of it of like active mines running and just involvement there, and then also a lot of the exploration projects we're aware of as we work through those, and then the feasibility study. So there's been a big uptick in the state of Idaho, I would say, in the past 5 years. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I think industry's definitely in an upcycle. We've got a lot of interest. We're getting a lot of interest from the capital markets and investing here, and we're getting a lot of interest from in past the formerly producing sites coming back in and trying to create a more workable solution to some of those issues that are out there. So, I mean, like I said, when I started, we had 30 members or something, and now we've got 130, and it doesn't seem to be letting up any on the membership front. We right now industry supports about 12,000 jobs. That's both direct and indirect. Direct jobs, about 4,500. And so that number has increased steadily over the last decade as well, right? So we're hopeful to see some more growth as some of these other mines come back online, and maybe we can bring some of the Idahoans that are in other states mining back home to operate some mines here.
Yeah. I mean, that's still impressive, though. If you're thinking 12,000 jobs just in the mining industry in the state of Idaho, that's a sizable employer, grouping of employees that probably doesn't get talked a lot about in the state in general.
Direct and indirect jobs, right? So 4,500 in the mine processing space, and then outfits like you that occupy about 7,500 of these jobs, right? and it's a meaningful economic impact. I mean, we're not talking about um, the average wage jobs. These jobs are really high paying jobs. I mean, I think we're about 75% higher than the average job in Idaho. And um, that's around 110,000, 113,000 a year in salary and benefits. So these are really good jobs. We create about 100, or excuse me, 1.7 billion in gross state product. And you're right. Not a lot of people talk about it. Sometimes, I mean, we can talk about perception if you want, but sometimes, it seems like the only people that appreciate the service that these miners are providing to this nation are the communities where they operate, right? And so, um, it's a much larger deal than people really understand.
Yeah, I can take that perspective too. So I've been at Western States on my 19th year right now. And when I started at Western States, I was mainly focused on the construction industry, based out of here on a Boise, and then even over in Pasco, Washington, right, and kind of servicing that and doing technician stuff and growing up in the business. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, I got really involved in the MineStar product just for various reasons of mining technology and what that means and how to help customers win. And I can say that first year, I had no idea I was even involved in mining in the state of Idaho. Just because even working here at the dealer, you just don't realize that there's a whole other layer of things happening, of awareness and stuff like that. And it's been quite a journey on my side in the past 5 years. I didn't even know what mining was 5, 6 years ago.
Sure.
And now it's a lot of what I do every day and involved in helping current operations be successful, which is, it's just fascinating that it just kind of lives over there off to the side.
Yeah, either, we operate in a lot of rural areas, right? I'm a fourth generation Idahoan. I grew up in Homedale. I don't know if you know where that's at, but um, we were all farmers and ranchers out there, right? So you didn't see the mining. That said, there was one that was 30 miles from town in Hawaii County, right? Or 40 miles from town in Hawaii County. So the Integra or excuse me, currently the Integra Delamar project was an operating mine when I was a kid. And many of the kids I grew up with, folks worked out there, and I had no idea, right? So it wasn't until I got into this industry where it started opening my eyes to, to the products that, the raw materials that come from the ground. And you started making connecting the dots to where our stuff comes from.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. I mean, think about farming too, is like, if you look at Idaho, one of our in the mining space, phosphates is a real deal. I mean, when it comes to the phosphate industry outside of Idaho and what's happening into the US, Idaho is a main player in that space of producing phosphate, which then is used in fertilizer and other products and stuff, which supports agriculture. So that's even more interesting. Even in the farming world, you just you're using this product with no concept of, oh, it even could have been mined over in southeast Idaho and produced and then put on a field even over in Homedale from there.
Yeah, no, it's actually it's kind of cool that we can link everything. We can link some of the fertilizer that goes on our food all the way back to the rock that's in Soda Springs, Idaho. That's kind of a cool part of this industry, right? But yeah, I mean, the reality is, a lot of people don't know where their things come from, right? As we were navigating the COVID thing a few years back, right? It wasn't until we had to start rationing our toilet paper in our homes before we started figuring out that the supply chain is significantly broken, right? And at that point, I think people started paying attention to where their things come from, and we still have a lot of work to do from industry's perspective. I mean, we are the first link in virtually every supply chain there is. And there's a lot of folks out there that just don't know it, right? And so, trying to help people connect the dots is one way to do it, but also, doing the right thing and continuing to push the envelope on innovation and technology to try and create more sound, environmentally friendly mines and create safe places to have industrial jobs and then being able to clean up some of the mess that we make while we're mining at the end of the day is how we change perception with folks. I mean, the reality is that the mining today is not the same as it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right? And a lot of these negative perceptions we have are from 100 plus years ago, right? And so there is a segment of the population that certainly doesn't excuse me, doesn't know what we do or has a preconceived notion of what we do, but they are also participating in the mass consumption of the products that we produce, and nobody seems to be slowing that down.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting piece of it. So let's talk about like the world that we have today. Without mining, I wouldn't have my iPad sitting in front of me. Without mining, I wouldn't have this coffee cup that I'm drinking coffee out of. Right? Like
Yeah.
like these raw materials that we source from the earth built literally the world that we're in.
We wouldn't have anything. A world without mining would be something that would be very difficult to envision, particularly when you get my age and you'd have to wear glasses, right? Because you have to have mining for glasses. But there is somebody out there has created some kind of a commercial or a video where they try to envision the world without mining, and they slowly start picking away mining from this beautiful city landscape. And the next thing you know, you just got a guy standing there in his skivvies and nothing else around him, right?
Just standing there with like
Yeah, so it's something that we have to keep reminding people of. But at some point, I think the consumer has to also take lead in how we source these materials.
yeah. So how do we so as an industry, right? How do we help educate society? Because that's what we're talking about right now. What role can we play as industry to help educate society on what mining means to them and the impact it has to their life?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think, associations like mine have tried a lot of different things, right? We try to link people to the things they consume. That doesn't always work. Some people don't care. Some people, they, as long as they can't see it, they're not in my backyard. Mentality seems to be okay for them. So, I think the reality is we just need to continue doing our job, but we need to continue to do it better, and we need to continue to do it transparent, and we need to show the world that modern mining, what we say modern mining is what modern mining is, right? And it's not just our say so, trust us. We're gonna gain their trust by showing them, right? And so, I do think that perception is changing. Part of it is the supply chain. Part of it is the innovation in industry and our ability to get it done. Part of it is early career professionals realizing that maybe some of these quote unquote dirty jobs aren't nearly as dirty or as fad as some of the kids older than them were told they were when they were growing up. So, once we work through some of those things, and we get people out in the field and we show them what we're doing, typically we have a pretty good response from folks. But we can't take a few 100 million people out to a mine site, right? And that's what the reality is we can't do that. And so we've got to do a better job as industry to just keep doing our job and do it in the right way. And then when people do it the wrong or in ways that aren't something that we align with, we've got to make sure that as an industry we hold them accountable for doing a job that's not acceptable, right? So that's my thoughts. Now we'll keep doing all of the things that we continue to do to get in front of people. We'll keep sponsoring events, creating a curriculum for schools, getting kids out to mines. It's a long play. We probably won't see some of these results until I'm long gone. But at the same time, I see the impacts that this industry has on communities, and I see the way that we can just have people come in and know what we're working toward and have it. I can see the change in their eyes when we talk to them, and so and I believe in this industry. So it's easy for me to say. I mean, I've drank the Kool-Aid, right? But we've got to serve the Kool-Aid to a few more folks.
Yeah, I mean that's the interesting part about it is I've been on some of those mine tours adjacent to some of the visits you guys do and stuff like that because I've been on quite a few sites for various reasons over the past couple of years. And what's really been interesting about those is you're doing those site tours and you start to talk to the people that are operating that mine and talking through how they're managing the environmental challenges that are out there, the care and take that they're taking to make sure they're doing it the right way, operating within the permit and the clarity of those things, and how they're taking care of what they have going on there. It's crazy. You just take it, you don't realize that until you're there.
I mean, the reality is, Taylor, these guys live in those communities, right? They live there, they hunt there, they recreate there, they raise their children there. Folks that work on the mine are the last people that wanted to have any kind of degradation to the place that they love, right? So they are, in my opinion, true conservationists, and they take their jobs very seriously. I don't think a lot of people know that when you go, they I think people, their perception is that miners just do things environmentally because the regulations in place force them to do it. The folks that we have working the environmental side of these mines are fully engaged in protecting the environment. There is no, we're doing this just because it's a regulation in place. We're doing this because it's meaningful and impactful to the environment. Yeah, that's why we're doing it.
What's really exciting is, like, I mean, think about, the number of jobs, direct and indirect, associated to mining in the state of Idaho, the gross domestic product that it represents financially to, I mean, the trickle downstream to the state of Idaho is massive to what mining's providing, and just these careers that it provides people for fulfillment. It's a phenomenal industry and we kind of hinted at it a couple of minutes ago. Mining's completely changed from the early days to what it is today in the processes around that. So let's talk a little bit about some of the evolution the mining industry has been through in the past 50 years and what you have seen. I know you've been at the IMA for 9, but still, as you work through some of the stuff you've gone through, you have to have some context to what's changed in the past 50 years to today.
Yeah, I mean, even since I've been here in a short amount of time, the Idaho Mining Association led an effort to update our Mine Land Reclamation Act for the first time in 50 plus years. So industry took the lead and put what some considered more regulation on us, or more burden on industry, just to show that we are fully committed to having the things, the financial assurances in place, and having the reclamation plans in place, so that when we are done, we can try to put the egg back together as much as possible. I mean, the reality is you got to dig a hole to get these raw materials, and it makes a mess. But we've done a really good job here in Idaho of pushing the ball and trying to update our standards to a place that is where the rest of industry is, and where I think industry will go. So yeah, I mean, technology's changed a lot, innovation's changed a lot, and this is just in the last 10 years. I mean, 50 years ago, mining was a different place in Idaho. We had a lot more operators. We had a lot more miners, but some of those mines are still left, and the miners of today are going to have to go back and be the good Samaritans that we need them to be to help clean up some of those abandoned sites, and they are, and that's the beauty of industry right now. We're working really closely with some of the conservation partners to do some of those things around the state and around the country, frankly. So, with technology, the technology has and innovation. I think that one, it serves a couple of different purposes for me, personally, but also for the mines, right? Modern mining, and you guys see it here. You're on the front lines of this, but the technology, it drives safety, which is great for miners. That's a huge key for us, is making sure that not only our miners get home safe every day, but we're also protecting the communities that we live in, right? And then it drives efficiency. So we can focus in on where the minerals are, and maybe have less of an impact, and also extract more resource from the ore. And then it also attracts young labor. I mean, drones and remote equipment and computer modeling and all these environmental protections that come along with the innovation and technology that we're seeing in mining attract a young workforce. not known a world without computers or internet or video games, right? And so when I can sit in your remote command trailer and drive a DC-11 in Tucson, and I feel like I'm playing The Legend of Zelda, it's pretty awesome, right? And these kids they get it better than I do.
Yeah, that was you and I connected up at a conference up in North Idaho. And I really connected something at that conference where I don't think I had in my head yet. And I'm really close to the technology side of it. And a lot of the technology that I've been around is like, this is the goal and objective the mine has. This is the gap. How can we help them get where they need to be? Whether it be safety, whether it be production, whether it be, any more data so they can make a better decision, right? There's lots of use cases there. What I hadn't really fully connected in my thought in my brain until I was going through that conference is that there's a positioning part of using technology to move towards a modern mining environment to attract the workforce that we need for these mines to operate. And I hadn't really connected that dot in my brain. Maybe that's just naive of me a little bit, right? Because I'm just trying to help these guys win.
Sure.
But I do think that there is this nugget out there that this is the type of workforce that's available in market that's there. Like, and we can't change that. That's society driven. Lots of things have happened to build that workforce. In mining, it's our job to adjust how we mine to that workforce and to attract that workforce for the future and adjust the way we mine to be able to enable the success of the operation and successful outcomes as we move forward from there. And I believe technology plays a big part in that as well.
Yeah.
And that's not just coming from, because I am the technology guy for mining and MineStar. You know what I mean? And I get that, but there's a bigger part of that world that's there that I realized.
Tyler, helping these guys fill their workforce is winning. But back to your original point with technology, you're just trying to help them win. Well, that's winning for these guys. I mean, workforce is a huge challenge for all industry right now, not just mining. And it's whether it's aging or technical skills, whatever it is, we are in competition with every other industry out there when it comes to workforce, right? But at the same time, we have another challenge. We have a perception challenge where we've got a generation of the workforce, I don't know, the 25 to 40-year-olds that want nothing to do with mining. And that's kind of where the workforce market is at the moment, right? And so we've got a couple of hurdles on workforce. And you're absolutely right. We've got to, just like every other industry out there, we've got to find ways to attract this workforce. And so we've got to find ways to build mines that people want to mine in, right? And so the technology is part of that, the safety is part of that, and of course the wage is part of that, right? But at the end of the day, we also need to talk to these people. Instead of telling these people what we think they need, we need to talk to them and they can tell us what they need, right? And so, we sit the same conference that we were at. We sit there and we listen, and this is not a dig at HR or anything, but we listen to HR professionals sit around the room and say the same thing over and over and over again. Have we talked to the guys that we want to hire? They're the ones whose ideas really matter. And I'm not suggesting that we haven't talked to them. It's a question that we all need to be asking ourselves, right? And so workforce is going to be a challenge for everyone, but I think we've got a little bit extra challenge in the mining industry. But I think we're up to the challenge. That's really the primary driver of why the Mining Association put together the Idaho Mining Advancement Project, the IMAP project, which is a group of industry folks. It's a very loose group of industry folks and educators that are getting together quarterly to discuss these challenges and then how we attract the future workforce, right? And so it feels like we have some momentum there. I'm trying as hard as I can to stay at. We're just the facilitators. It's a standalone group that the Idaho Mining Association helps facilitate. But I'm trying really hard to not drive any of the discussion and let these guys come up with solutions and have it be as third party and organic as possible. our last quarterly call, we had somewhere between 60 and 70 folks on, which is great. So, I mean, that's a shameless plug, but, maybe I'll give you some information so that anybody that watches this thing, if you guys want to participate in the Idaho Advancement or Idaho Mining Advancement Project, please let us know, because that's how we're going to solve some of these problems is to just talk about them and throw it up on the whiteboard and see what works, right?
And what's cool about the mining industry as a whole, no matter which way you look at it, they're phenomenal. We're phenomenal at solving problems. That's what mining does every single.
So I say we create some of the problems you have to solve, but that's
Yep, but we can solve them and we can work forward and work through that thing, which is totally a cool thing as we do that. So let's segue a little bit into the permitting process a little bit, because I know that the permitting process has been an interesting conversation as a whole, right? Just for lots of reasons. So can you just give a high level overview of what the permitting process is for people that might not even understand what it is at all?
Yeah, currently, it takes about 29 years to permit a mine in this country, from the time we start kicking rocks to the time we build a mine. 29 years is unacceptable in any terms, let alone in terms where we need these raw materials for our national defense or to feed a nation or what have you. So permitting has been
Just
a
for
huge
lots
thing.
of reasons. So can you?
NEPA, the National Environment Permitting. It's broken, and we all know it. It was created as a procedural act to analyze the environmental impacts a project might have. Mining is not the only industry that has to go through NEPA. Other construction projects have to go through NEPA. Other siting projects have to go through NEPA. But unique to us, we touch about everything, right? And so sometimes our environmental reviews can get a lot more complex, and they can take time. So for a long time, we've been talking about permitting reform in this country from the industry side, and that doesn't mean the idea is to streamline it in a way that we can get these things across the finish line faster. That doesn't mean we skirt environmental reviews. That doesn't mean we skirt standards. It means that we have timelines that government agencies have to live by, and it means that we can review documents at the same time, instead of Tyler reviewing it for 6 months and then passing it on to Ben for review, and then Ben passes it on to the next person for review. It'll be interesting to see what the final outcomes are here, but I think that our current administration and frankly the last administration saw that it was broken, and there's ways to make it more efficient. But what we don't talk about is the litigation side. So we can go through the environmental reviews and we can get a permit, and whether it takes 8, 9, 10 years to get that done or not, the country needs some reform in tort areas, because the litigation can pull the rug out from under a permit that took a decade to create, that went through every environmental loophole and circle and hurdle that was out there. So we got more work to do to get these mines permitted, but it seems like there's momentum there as well. Whether or not we can sustain the momentum will be interesting, but I think people are starting to get it. So there's a lot of work to be done there. We know we have an abundance of resources in this country, and we know that we can access them, but just having the resource known isn't a good stockpile, if you will. We've got to be able to actually go get it before 30 years is up.
People's typical thought process is, well, we're just going to shortcut the environmental, we're going to shortcut some part of that process. Like the operators just want to do this. But if we go back to earlier in our conversation today too, the same operators are going around and doing some stuff for reclamation to make it more stringent on them, to make sure it's done right as we move forward. So I think that's the thing that often gets missed when we talk about reform. Everybody just thinks, oh, well, we're going to cut out the environmental piece of that and we're not even going to take a look at that. But these people that are looking for these permits and looking at this process, they're stewards of the environment in their own fashion, right? And I don't think it's viewed that way in a lot of ways. And I do think the interesting part is the setting clear deadlines and timelines, so that way we can all operate through that piece of it. Because it taking 30 years to get a permit, the world's completely changed in 30 years.
That's right.
And everything's completely changed in 30 years. And I think the impact from our geopolitical side of stuff is much different than it was. And I think the focus on that, it becomes a very controversial subject really quick. Very political, very controversial, when really at the end of the day, we're just working on supply chain, taking care of our country.
Yeah.
And but everybody has an opinion about that. So you get tied up in this other side of the conversation rather than the real root of what we're trying to do and why.
Tyler, the reality, I think, is that if we continue to take 30 years to permit these mines, we're going to see mines pop up that are, either backed by the federal government or by someone, and that aren't going to be as environmentally challenged, or the review hasn't been appropriately done because we need it now, right? I mean, we've seen there's plenty of holes in the ground still left behind from World War II where we needed tungsten, we needed antimony, we needed, what have you, lead for munitions. And these scars are still left behind. They were all commissioned by the federal government. And when the war was over, they just packed up and left, and they didn't. And granted, this was in a time where we may not have known some of the environmental impacts we were having, but the reality of the situation is, if we need it before 30 years, and it's a matter of national defense, you can bet your bottom dollar that somebody is going to go get it. The federal government is going to figure out how to get it, and whether or not they do the right thing and go through the environmental review process may be subject to the need.
I think if you look at the way we can work through the piece of this reform and streamlining details from there, that'll help mitigate the risk that you just described, right? Because then when we do have a situation for national defense or whatever that geopolitical situation can arise, we're able to do it the right way.
Yep. I mean, again, we can't just say, oh, we know it's in the ground, so we have it. Yep. We have to actually have it.
Yep.
And that's the situation we find ourselves in right now. We know it's there, but it's taking a long time to go get it.
Yeah, and I mean, just when you open a mine, what's interesting in our perspective that we get as an equipment dealership is like, permit comes through, everybody's stoked, everybody's excited. We're super stoked to figure out how to go help do this the right way to be supportive of the operation. Then you're spot on. We go through a set of legislation and the different types of court things that happen, the tort side with you described there. And then it's like, okay, we got to start construction. We got to build a facility to be able to go mine. And then after we do that, then we got to remove the overburden, right? So just because you have that permit, you're not even getting material out of the ground for who knows how long, depending on the alignment that's there. And that's real work. That's not even just, hey, permitting and those types of processes. It's like moving material and building facilities and doing all this other stuff to be able to mine and do stuff the right way.
Right. It's funny, Tyler. I think the general public just thinks that miners are all out there fat and happy, and they've got all this money, and but some of these guys. I mean, I feel it's really hard to watch sometimes because the amount of capital investment that they have to put down before they ever see a dollar in profit is astounding. Hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to build some of these mines. That is, it's a very risky business, and I suppose that maybe that's why sometimes the payout might be good on the back end, but you got to expend a lot of capital just to get there. I mean, I don't expect you to tell me how much one of these rigs costs that these guys have rolling on the hill, but they got a lot of those rigs, and then they also have a lot of other things that go into this mine. So
it's definitely challenging. Lots of financial risk, lots of social perception risk that exists there. But these guys are doing it out of, I think, just their genuine passion to make sure the society has what it needs. Right. There's this humility that exists with miners when you talk to them, that they know that not everybody understands what they do. They know that not everybody's there, but they also recognize somebody has to do it to make sure we have the world we live in. And that's what's so cool about the mining industry and the people that are there is they're doing it literally to help the communities that they're in.
Yeah, no, it it truly is a service to this nation, and uh, sometimes I think people lose sight of that, and it probably it. I bet the miners at times feel a little bit, you know, slighted by the fact that people don't appreciate what they do, right? So, but you know, they that doesn't keep them from going to work every day and continuing to do their jobs.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's going on in the mining operations in Idaho, some of the exploration projects and the new things that are coming up, right? Some of the exciting stuff because there's a lot of good momentum happening right now around some projects around the state.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of touched a little bit on it, but we've got well, we got six operators at the moment, and then we've got two right on the cusp. We've got the Thompson Creek mine about ready to come back on. They've been in care and maintenance for a decade or so. That will be exciting. A lot of jobs in the Salmon Chalice area, which is great. And then, of course, the Perpetua's Stibnite Gold project in central Idaho as well. So those have potential to create 800 mining jobs in this state, right? And that's just the mining jobs. So I think we're somewhere closer to 1,000 in construction. So it's going to take quite a few years to build some of these projects. On the heels of so those ones are right there on the horizon. You can see the sun on those ones, and just on those heels, you've got another 5, 6, 7 projects that are in the later stage of development. And either entering into the NEPA process or putting together feasibility plans to see if the resource actually makes sense to mine. And then we've got 20 or so in the early drilling, and those are just my members, right? I mean, there are some out there that are poking around that we don't even know about. Hell, we should probably talk because you probably know more about them than I do at times because they're looking for equipment more than they're looking for help right now with the policy side. But a lot of momentum. I mean, we've seen it with our annual conference, right? I mean, we started it 7 years ago, and there was 50 or 60 of us sitting in the lobby of a local hotel, and it was a great technical show. And frankly, 50 or 60 was about twice as many as I thought were going to be there that day. But last year we were pushing 1,000 people. We had 60 technical sessions and 120 or so vendors, and this year it's going to be even larger on the vendor side and technical show. So we see the growth, and it is exciting. Idaho has a very robust and broad mineral resource, so we've got a lot of stuff, right? And some of these things are critical, some are strategic, and some are just. I'm of the mind that all minerals are critical because you can't do anything without the base metals, and you can't do anything without try to defend a nation without feeding a nation. I mean, just because the government tells us that phosphate isn't on the critical minerals list doesn't mean it's not critical to feeding the world, right? So I'm of the mind that all minerals are critical, but we've got a few that are also defined by the government here in Idaho too. So I think you're going to see a lot of push toward trying to get some of those critical mineral projects across the finish line, and you're gonna when we can start permitting mines in this state and in this nation, more interest will come. We haven't permitted a major mine in Idaho on federal land in a long time, right? And so we're hopeful that this Perpetua record of decision and permit will pave the way, hopefully, to see some of these other projects getting across the finish line, right? And then maybe it changes the way we tell our story here in Idaho that we can actually permit mines on federal land.
Yeah. And that Perpetua project is a fascinating one for a lot of reasons, right? There's a lot of history back up in there of where that project started, back in the World War II era, how we worked through it from there. And one of the coolest things that I've heard out of that Perpetua project that really interests me is the there's a stream that runs through that piece of it, right? That's in the middle of that yellow pine pit, I think is what they call it. And the amount of care that they're working through to manage that waterway to restore some fish habitat is absolutely crazy to really get it put back together. So it's a really a cool story of like fixing a stream that was probably not managed correctly. You know what I mean? Back in the day, and putting it back to even a better place to restore some habitat that hasn't been accessed to or hasn't been able to develop for a lot of years.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have to talk to the Perpetua folks on the real details there, but uh, that stream hasn't the fish haven't been able to pass through that pit for 50 or 60 years, maybe more, since they dug it, right? And so uh, Perpetua proposing to bypass it and put the stream literally under the mountain, and open up tens of miles of young fish rearing ground that hasn't been accessed in you know a, more than one generation is remarkable, frankly. And their plan to put it back closer to its original state, uh, where it was 70 years ago, is also remarkable. And these projects cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and they don't provide 1 cent in revenue to the company, right? So uh, that story is a very unique story, but it's also and it took a long time to permit that mine, but it's a very complex place. There's a lot of legacy issues up there. The river has been degraded and not cleaned up in 70 years, and so um, these guys going in there have a unique opportunity to go in and kind of not only produce some of the critical minerals we need, but also clean up a site that is in rough shape today and has been in rough shape for a couple generations.
Fascinating story, and it'll be really, really fun to watch that project come together in our lifetime and be able to see it and hopefully be a part of it through different processes and phases. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, I love getting up there every time I get a chance. If you haven't been up there, you ought to make the trip. It's not for the weary. It's a long drive from here. I mean, and that's isn't the other reality of most of Idaho's projects is they're not close to the population, right? I mean, there are a few that are being proposed around urban centers, if 60, 70 miles is around urban centers, but yeah, we're talking pretty remote places, some of these places. And so, even the not in my backyard folks have never been to some of these places, right? But that's a special place in Idaho. Central Idaho is very special. The river is very special to all Idahoans. And so it is not only necessary, but it's the right thing to do, to take care of.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the annual conference because it's coming down the end of October, right? So tell me, what is the annual conference? How did it get started?
Yeah.
And what's your vision for that?
Well, like most ideas, it was hatched over a beer or two or more, right? But we hadn't had an annual show in I don't know how long. At some point in time, industry had contracted enough to where it didn't make sense to have an annual meeting. And so, yeah, I don't know, 7 years ago or so, a handful of us got together and had a few cocktails and thought, well, why don't we just try a technical show and see who comes? And so that's kind of how it started. And it was easy back then. Frankly, sometimes I miss those days when I could just go down to the Riverside Hotel and rent the lobby and put on a breakfast or a lunch for 100 people and call her a day. But today it's different and it's good. It's changed for the positive for industry, and it's created an opportunity for us to gather and get together to discuss some of the issues that we all face, the common issues that we face, and hopefully find solutions to some of these challenges that we have, right? So it's the only industry Idaho industry conference that we have in Idaho, and it lasts 2 days. We have it down here in Boise. Last year we had I don't know, 950 folks there and 120 vendors. This year, we're expecting over 1,000, and we already have over 130 vendors. Our vendor hall is sold out, but we're still seeing sponsors come in that want to participate, right? So it's exciting, and everybody wants to be part of it, and partially because we have a good time, right? And partially because we force the hard conversations, right? And it seems like people are enjoying the conference. It's kind of become a regional draw, which is fun to see, and hopefully we can get some work for some of the folks, and people keep coming. It really is more like a family reunion than it is a conference. I mean, we get together, we force everybody in the same room for 48 hours, and we have a lot of fun. And we ended at 48 hours because the last thing you want to do at a family, you can see anybody on the morning of day 3, right? So but late nights and early mornings, and a pretty great time. So looking forward to another one this year. I know you guys are coming in again. We're working through some of the needs you have there. Hopefully we can figure out where to locate.
Oh, I'm committed.
It's going to be a fun time. Yeah, it always is. And it's the planning and the workload for Allie and I is immense through from I'd say May to September. We're pretty well buried in it. But at the same time, when it's happening, it's fun to walk around the conference and give high fives to 1,000 of your best buddies.
Yeah. One of the things that I also really appreciate about the conference is the technical conversations. The amount of energy that some of these guys putting together some technical analysis and information and sharing with industry, so that way there's this collaboration of knowledge that's happening, is absolutely a cool thing.
Yeah, the technical side, like I said, we started as a technical show, right? The vendors were always an afterthought, but we've kind of found a little niche where we can have both, right? And so this year, I expect over 60 technical presentations. We had close to 70 abstracts submitted, and so that side of things is growing as well. And it's great. We bring in people from all walks of industry, and on the conservation side, we always try to bring in folks that want us to do better, right? And so the technical side, it is, to me at least, as important as the other side. But the vendor side pays the bills, right? It's to have a conference with 1,000 people and 130 vendors and 60 technical sessions is it costs money. And there's not a lot of places in this state where you can do it. I think maybe the only one right now that we've come up with is down there in downtown Boise, which is a great venue. I think that's part of the reason people like to come, because they're right in the middle of the heart of Boise, which is a great place to live. But it's a good show. We have a lot of fun. So if you're not already registered, come on in to this. We open the bar early, and we wake up early in the morning too. So
there you go. Yeah, the technical piece of it is these guys can come to this, learn about new products and services from the vendors and what's going on there, as well as an educational process. So I think you've done a great job at balancing both of those, and not letting it just turn into a sales pitch, right? Best way to say that from all the vendors, because that's why
well, it's required, right? Yeah. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give credit to the volunteer team that helps plan this committee, right? The folks that help plan it, and the technical minds that go behind or go into putting together that technical show are much more intelligent than I am, and they do a really great job of coming through those abstracts. But it is a requirement that this is not a sales opportunity to sell something. This is an opportunity to talk about industry and how you're trying to solve maybe issues that are on the front line. You'll have plenty of opportunity after your presentation to go sell something.
Yeah.
And so I think that the team has done a really good job of keeping it technical and keeping it on point. And maybe that's part of the reason this has become so successful, and part of the reason the technical program is enjoyed.
And that's what's cool about it, right? Is you can go learn, understand, take some knowledge away, and to be able to apply those skill sets as you move forward to that knowledge that you gained during that conference. So I'm looking forward to the conference as well, just because it's a highlight for me every year. I get to see a lot of the current people I know in the industry, as well as some of the awareness of the things that are going on that I just would get exposed to. So I'm personally looking forward to attending and being there.
I like it. Well, we'll look forward to always seeing you down there too.
Yeah, good. So we talked a little bit about workforce challenges there and some of the stuff that's going on. So when we talk about like moving the industry towards the workforce and some of the current challenges that we have around workforce, what are some of your thoughts of what we can do to create some more awareness about the mining industry, right? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, when I visit a mine site, the typical piece of it is, hey, no pictures, nothing out there. It's all really closed tight. But then there's another side of the world where it's like, hey, we've got to share this, we've got to understand it and to take society with. So how do you balance that? Or like,
It's a fair question, and that's kind of the challenge of
more awareness about
an association's job. I mean, we have to tell a story that sometimes our members have been less than willing to tell themselves, right? For a long time, industry just got their head down and were doing their job. But during that time, perception of industry was not good, and so I think it is on us to encourage our members to tell their story and talk about how great of a job they're doing, and it is on us to personify miners. I mean, people just they think of miners as somebody that goes underground and they come back all dirty and covered in soot, and they don't really think of them as people. They just think of them as miners. So we gotta help try and connect the dots to you being a miner, or somebody else being a miner, right? And they could also be your neighbor, and they could be they're your kid's basketball coach, or whatever. And those are things that we are trying to do. We've also put together some curriculum to try and get into schools to help schools, better portray what mining is, and at least let people know that mining exists. I mean, I don't think there's any current curriculum in our schools to tell people about mining, other than maybe Idaho history, right? Because we were settled by miners, right? But we've just got to I got to do a better job of encouraging my members to tell their story, and that's something that Allie and I have really been working hard on. And it's not just me. At some point, they've got to take ownership as well, and they are. Industry has changed in that regard. They recognize that we are better off if we tell our own story than if we allow someone else to define us. And so we've got to get out there and just do the work to let people know who we are.
Yeah, and I think the last sentence there really sums it up really well, is that we're better off telling our own story than letting somebody else define it for us. Yeah. And I think that's a really powerful thing for the mining industry as a whole. Just even that statement as we move forward, whether it be reclamation, whether it be permitting, whether it be awareness about what we're doing, adjusting to the workforce, right? Like we're the ones that are in control. So we need to go do it if we want it to be something different.
Well, that's the tough spot, right, that we're in. I mean, we have allowed others to define us for so long that we've got a segment of the population that just thinks that mining is what it was 100 years ago, right? And it's not. But it's not, the onus is on us to show people how and why it's not.
That's cool.
Mining is a part of the fabric of this state. We were founded by miners in the 1840s, 1860s, and it's been going on since then, right? And I mean, now we've got a miner on our state flag, right? We are the gem state. It's time for us to start being proud of who we are and stop hiding behind the bushes and doing our job, right? It's time for us to be proud of what we do and the service that we provide to the nation, and hopefully we can show people why it's not the same as it was in 1860.
Yep, that's pretty cool. So that's lots of good stuff on that front, Ben. One more question I want to ask you, and they can figure out how to weave this in, is you hinted a little bit on how you're doing some stuff with educational programs in elementary schools and different schools.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that because I'm not too aware of what you guys are trying to do there and what that
Yeah.
looks like.
Well, so we just it's been a long process, but what we heard from some of our conservation partners is that you can say you're doing a good job, but we're not going to believe you because your industry, of course, are going to tell us you're doing a good job. So we need third parties to verify that you're doing good work, right? And so we took that to heart, and we went out and we talked with some folks, and they put together a group of teachers to uh, build some curriculum on mining, and I was completely removed from the process, and they've come up with some K through 6 or K through 8 curriculum, hopefully that we can start deploying into schools. But it talks about the good, bad, and indifferent of mining, and it doesn't shy away from some of the impacts that we've had in the past, but it does focus on why it's necessary and where we're going in the future, right? And so it is a good product. The reason you haven't heard about it is because it's taken some time to get it across the finish line. It's taken some time for us to get these teachers together. They're busy folks as well. We're really excited at having the product. I can hopefully we can get it into schools, but if we aren't able to have the schools deploy it, we'll work internally on finding ambassadors or something to go out and use the script to teach kids in the schools. I mean, when I talk to teachers, the last thing that they want to do is try to become a expert on mineral development, right? They would much rather have industry people come in and talk about mining. I'm hopeful that in the upcoming months we'll have more clarity on whether or not we can get the curriculum placed in schools. But right now we finally got a product, and I'll certainly share it with you, and maybe we could start steering people toward it.
Yeah, that's exciting because I'm thinking of my own kids. I've got kids in elementary school and one in preschool, and one of my favorite things that I've been done has been able to share them some of the stories of what's going on. I go to these mine sites for 2 weeks to deploy some technology and to help them, and they're like, "Where are you at? Middle of nowhere, out of cell coverage all day, talking about remote, right?" And you're just you're kind of out there helping these people do what they need to do, and then to come home and show them some of the things.
I brainwashed my kids a long time ago.
Oh yeah, it's the best. It's great because they love it. Like once they understand why and what they're doing, equipment, and I think it's just a great opportunity to help everybody understand that the life we have is here, you guys. We have to do this, and this is a big part of society as we move forward. That's kind of been lost, and I think that's phenomenal. You guys are working on that product.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's just a little anecdote. But when my kids were young, I would always ask them, where did that truck come from? And the 3-year-old barely talked. The mines.
Perfect.
You got it.
So we're in.
So those guys get it, but it's easy to convince people that are around it. It's much harder to convince folks that they're not around it every day that this truly is important.
Yeah, and I think the pride in the state of Idaho, the gem state, the miner that's on the flag. There's a lot of history there for the state of Idaho and mining, and I think it's pretty cool what you're doing to try to influence that to come back to represent who we are and to do it the right way, not just to go mine, but let's mine the right way.
Well, we're lucky in the state. We're lucky, in the resource we have. We're lucky that people in this state appreciate multiple land uses. And at the same time, we're lucky to have so much, public land that we can go out and recreate on. We can go out and graze on. We can go out and mine on. We can do all of these things, and we can balance them. It's not a black and white or a one or another type of scenario. We know that we can have our cake and eat it too when it comes to mining or recreating or grazing or timber. All of those things can happen at the same time, and we're very lucky here.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining me today. Been a great conversation. Lots of good details there, and again, looking forward to the conference here in October.
We're lucky to have.